a lot of us conspiracy theorists look like a lot of wackos. The ones that have the best information are to the government, or the government's going to make them look like the worst kind of wacko.
Right.
That's probably how you know they're really close, is how hard the government is trying to make them look like a wacko.
And one of the ways they did it to Lazar was removing his credentials, his college education, and where he went to college at, and
Yeah,
the fact that they said he never worked there. But the mysterious part was to that was, and this was shared to me through a very good friend of Bob's, who I did a show with, Jim Goodall. I did two shows with Jim. Jim's a fabulous person with great information, and some of the things he told me, I'm entrusted to that is now is not the time or place, and I made that promise. Something is going to happen. There's a movie coming out, and Bob is prepared to kind of like uh, show the world that there is technology that works like this, and we should look forward to it. But I've been posting about this movie coming on and some of the other things with pictures. Go into America Disclosing, everybody. And I want to say hi. We have a guest in from Oklahoma tonight. I just saw, unless these things are jumping out at me somewhere here. Yes. Steve White, thanks for joining and tuning in from Oklahoma. We appreciate you. What about Element 15? Yeah, well, that was where I was going. That's part of what is going to happen in Las Vegas. Again, I did shows with Jim. And here's the most important factor that gives a lot of credence to the story. Um, Jim noticed on Bob's wall that he had a W-2 form that verified where he worked at. And Jim said, because Jim blew the whistle on Area 51. Jim's written 20 some books, fabulous, intelligent, beyond what people may ever know about the man. To think about that in itself, to achieve that goal, plus do everything that he did. He gets a copy of it from Bob, and he takes it up to the Pentagon, where he has some people up there that know him well. When Jim walks through the door, everybody knows who Jim is in the military. He walks in and he says, "Is your commanding officer?" And I forget which office he was going to. And the guy says, "Yeah, who's asking?" "He is here." He says, "Tell him Jim Goodall's here." And the guy's jaw drops. According to Jim in the story, he's even went over this with Richard Dolan on his show at one point. I mean, Jim speaks with stone when he talks. It's my job to make sure the government is doing its job they're in place to do. So anyway, he goes in and he meets with this upper brass person that's above him and says, evidently he gives this piece of paper and says, "Give this to your commanding officer. Tell him I want to talk to him about it." And Jim gets invited in, gets a scolding of his life by the commanding officer. And they told him, "If you ever show anybody about this or talk about this, say game, basically." And he just said, "Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. May I leave, sir?" But the point was, he was trying to do, as a researcher, investigator that he is outside of the military, to get the information on this. But Jim knows for a fact that he was, in fact, employed through Area 51, that it's not all wishy-washy, regurgitated BS. It's factual. And, here we have a guy now that is still trying to redeem himself and speak on this. And a lot does have to do with the Element 115. And I can't wait. All I can say is to everybody, try to stay tuned. It's going to be pretty fabulous from everything that was described to me. And I hope that gets out there to everybody.